Good afternoon and welcome to this short update from the Network Homes board meeting held on the 25th of May. The first thing to say about the board meeting was that it was the first that Network has made open to residents and staff members for observation. So we had quite a large number of staff and a few residents watching the whole meeting. The residents who attended also had the opportunity to submit questions in advance of the meeting, and two did so. One was about how do we join up services to ensure that they are seamless for residents and what we intend to do to improve that in future. And the second was about the implication for residents of living in developments that where Network is not the freeholder, and some of the difficulties that can present, not having absolute control over the management and maintenance of the building. Both questions were given an answer during the meeting, a verbal answer during the meeting, which has been followed up with a written answer as well. And I would like to invite residents in future to attend board meetings when they're scheduled to be open. The next scheduled open meeting is our autumn board meeting. The other important items discussed, well, first of all, I wanted to highlight something called the early warning group decisions. What this is a paper that comes to Network board members once a month, looking at critical financial stressors on the business and the mitigations that are in place. It's a really important activity for Network, because as a regulated entity, we are expected to be able to show that we will, above all, operate in a way that protects social housing assets. Obviously, COVID has presented a massive challenge to to the whole country, and certainly organisations such as ours. But the only way so far that it's impacted in our stress testing is in the increasing numbers of empty properties that we are carrying, and for which obviously we are losing rent. So that's been triggered in the early warning report on 2 occasions now, and the board have considered whether particular mitigations ought to be put in place to manage that risk. For example, offering rent-free periods or incentives in our intermediate stock. The board also considered a comprehensive performance report. This is the annual report showing how we'd achieved against annual targets across a range of activity, and I'm only going to highlight 2. The first is the strengthening trust objective. This is the new strategic objective that the board adopted in January 2020 and agreed a measure for in November 2020. The set of figures presented at this meeting are the baseline from which we intend to improve. So at the moment we have a sort of 76% measure of trust in Network as an organisation based on reliability, based on surveys and so on. And our current target is 84. Obviously, as soon as we hit that target, we will attempt to move up still further. And we have a whole range of activity aimed, including, for example, the open board meetings, aimed at demonstrating openness and transparency. The other one that I'll highlight was progress towards the customer portal, which is the self-service project that Network has been developing over some considerable time. This aims to allow people to order repairs online, monitor them online, pay rent online, and all that sort of thing. And it was reported to the board that we now have 35% of our residents signed up to the customer portal. The board is debating what's called a channel shift strategy, which is in essence trying to encourage people to use the online provision rather than contacting our telephone contact centre. And there are mixed views on the board about how strongly we should do that. At the moment, our position is that we are providing both means of access and that we want people to be able to contact the organisation in the way that suits them. But there probably will come a time where we start to try and, rather more strongly persuade people towards the online provision, A, because it gives them more individual control, and B, of course, because it reduces overheads for us. We also received 2 health and safety reports. The first is the report relating to organisational health and safety, so accidents, incidents and things like that. It reported on a number of different measures, but generally showed a very strong and improving position. The second building safety report is about those buildings where we require fire remediation work as a result of investigations which have been instigated in the aftermath of the Grenfell tragedy. Many people living in such buildings will know that there is multiple problems attached to implementing remediation and ensuring that people can, first of all, live safely in their homes, but secondly, are able to sell them when they want to do so. And this report contains a list of all of those buildings where we've been able to achieve safety certification, all of those buildings where we know we have remediation to carry out and progress against that remediation, and also those buildings where we have still to ascertain what the long-term requirements are. This is a critical report which comes to the board at every meeting, demonstrating the importance of this kind of activity to Network Homes and indeed most other housing associations in London. Then there's just 3 other things that I'll highlight. The board agreed a sustainability strategy, an action plan, which is about how Network Homes intends to achieve net carbon zero by 2050, as is the government's requirement, and indeed EPC across our housing stock by 2035. It's a detailed paper which is supported in our business plan by up to £90 million worth of resources. That is a lot of money. It's probably still not enough to achieve net carbon zero by 2050, so this is something that will continue to be given consideration on a very regular basis as we understand, in more granular detail what we're going to need to do to meet that standard. And then secondly, the board received the value for money strategy. Making sure that we use our resources in the best way that we can is a regulatory requirement, and we report against it, both in our financial statements, as you will see when they're published in the summer, but also against the metrics in the strategy. What this shows is that we have made some significant advances in value for money, but also that there are very significant cost pressures arising principally from the building safety issues presenting at the moment, but also things like material cost increases which may be related to Brexit. This also is something that is regularly reported to the Network Homes board. And then finally, I just want to tell you about 2 new board members who have been appointed and who will join the board in July. These are Amina Graham, who has a customer services background, and Ade Adebayo, who has an asset management background. We look forward to welcoming them to Network, and I know they'll make a good contribution to taking the organisation forward. Okay, thank you.